Welcome to our deep dive today.
Yeah.
We're going to be exploring a YouTube video.
Okay.
It's called Life Really Begins at 40, Carl Jung,
Okay.
from the Mirror of Being channel. And it's all about how Carl Jung viewed aging
Okay.
and how that differs from what we often see in society.
Uh-huh.
So you're going to be challenging some conventional wisdom here.
Right.
And hopefully discover why the second half of life could be the most fulfilling one yet.
I think one of the things that struck me right away
Yeah.
is how the video jumps right into this.
Yeah.
Kind of this huge societal issue.
Oh, yeah.
The fear of getting older.
Oh, absolutely.
It's like it's been ingrained in us since we were kids.
It really is. You know,
Yeah.
you think about it, like, how many ads have you seen for anti-aging creams
Oh, yeah.
or procedures? Like,
Constantly.
it makes you wonder why we are so afraid of showing our age.
Yeah.
Like, what if we started to celebrate those wrinkles and gray hairs instead?
I know. It's a great point.
Yeah.
The video really talks about how,
Yeah.
media, workplaces, and even the anti-aging industry itself
Oh, yeah.
all kind of feed into that fear. It's like everyone's racing against the clock.
Right.
But Jung actually viewed this whole aging process not as a decline,
Right.
but rather as a sort of rebirth.
It's a total shift in perspective, isn't it?
It is.
He believed that aging naturally leads us away from chasing those external things.
Yes.
And towards a deeper internal satisfaction.
Right.
And it challenges us to think about what truly matters beyond the superficial stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it makes you question those, those markers of success that
Right.
we often chase in our younger years.
Yes. Yeah.
We spend so much time building our identities, going after achievements, seeking validation from others.
And then what happens when we achieve those things?
Right.
The video points out that a lot of people still feel empty.
Yeah.
Like that whole pursuit
Yeah.
wasn't really fulfilling.
This is where Jung's concept of the ego comes in.
Okay.
So he believed the ego is dominant in the first part of our lives.
Okay.
And it drives our ambition, our need for that external validation.
Right.
But at some point, that focus on the ego just doesn't cut it anymore.
So is that where the dreaded midlife crisis comes in?
Well, Jung actually saw it more as a breakthrough, not a crisis.
Okay,
It's like our inner selves are finally saying,
Yeah.
hey, pay attention to me.
Right. It's like reframing that whole phase of life, We often hear about people going through career changes or relationship shifts around midlife.
Right.
The video suggests these can actually be signs of this inner awakening.
And resisting this change can actually cause more problems down the line.
Yeah.
It delays true personal growth.
Right.
And the video even refers to this as individuation.
Okay.
This shift from being ruled by our egos
Yeah.
to connecting with our true self.
Okay, so letting go of who we thought we were can be scary.
Of course.
How do we even begin to embrace that unknown part of ourselves?
Well, the video uses this analogy of a journey of self-discovery.
Okay.
It's about shedding those old layers.
Yeah.
And finding out who you really are underneath all these things.
But doesn't that come with a lot of challenges?
Oh, of course, yeah.
Like, it sounds kind of terrifying.
Letting go of what's familiar is never easy. There's always that fear of the unknown.
Yeah.
Even a sense of loss as we kind of shed those old parts of ourselves.
Yeah.
But the video emphasizes that aligning with your true self brings incredible reward.
Okay, so there's this process of letting go, but then there's also this idea of confronting our shadow.
Yes.
Can you explain what exactly Jung meant by that?
Yeah, so the shadow is like the hidden side of our personality, the parts we try to keep buried. Think of it as those irrational reactions we have,
Okay.
the self-sabotaging behaviors. Right.
Or even the judgments we make about others that actually reflect our own fears.
Yeah, oh, interesting.
We often don't like to acknowledge these parts of ourselves.
Right.
We'd rather just pretend they don't exist.
And the video gives some specific examples of how this shadow side affects our actions and relationships, often in negative ways.
Right.
Yeah.
It could be operating behind the scenes without us even realizing it.
Oh, wow.
And Jung's insight was that integrating the shadow,
Okay.
learning to understand these hidden parts of ourselves is a crucial step in becoming more self-aware and truly free.
So how do we actually face those parts of ourselves that we spent so much time hiding? Sounds like a lot of difficult inner work.
It all starts with simply recognizing those patterns.
Okay.
So, notice when you overreact to something or when you're being overly critical of others.
Ask yourself what those reactions might reveal about the parts of you that you're hiding.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But doesn't it make us feel like we're constantly picking ourselves apart?
Actually, the video suggests the opposite.
Okay.
By bringing those shadowy aspects into the light of our awareness, we actually reclaim the energy that we were using to keep them suppressed.
Interesting.
It's about becoming whole, accepting all parts of ourselves, even the messy ones.
So while we're acknowledging this shadow self, what happens to all that joy and wonder we had as children?
Right.
Like, does that just disappear as we get older?
Right.
The video also mentions something about reconnecting with our inner child.
Yeah.
Which sounds much more fun.
That's one of the most important messages in this video.
Okay.
Life doesn't have to be all serious.
Yeah.
And all about responsibility.
Right.
The video suggests that rediscovering that childlike sense of play and curiosity can bring so much joy and meaning back into our lives.
That sounds amazing.
It is.
But how do we even begin to nurture that inner child?
Right.
When we're juggling all the demands of adult life, our careers, our families, our responsibilities, it can feel overwhelming.
Well, it's about carving out time for things that bring you pure joy.
Okay.
Even if they seem silly or frivolous.
Okay.
So think about picking up old hobbies you abandon, exploring something new that piques your curiosity.
Yeah.
Or just allowing yourself to be spontaneous and silly sometimes.
It's like giving ourselves permission. To be a little less serious. And grown up. To tap back into that creative energy we had as kids.
Exactly. It's in those moments that we can reconnect. With a sense of wonder and delight that we may have lost touch with along the way.
It seems like there's a theme emerging here. Letting go of those old ideas. Of who we should be.
Absolutely.
The video also emphasizes how important it is to let go of the need for external validation. And ego-driven desires as we age. As we get older. It's
about recognizing that always chasing more, more success, more possessions, more validation, doesn't actually lead to true fulfillment. Especially as we move into the second half of our lives.
The video even suggests that real freedom comes from living authentically. From pursuing what genuinely matters to us. Not what society tells us we should want.
Absolutely.
So it's like, we're really in control.
You are. You get to decide what success looks like for you. What a fulfilling life looks like for you.
Absolutely.
It's very empowering.
Yeah, it is. It's very freeing.
And what's so refreshing about this video is that it doesn't just present Jung's ideas in this theoretical way. It connects them to
real life examples like how society conditions us to fear aging.
You see it everywhere. Magazine covers with airbrushed models, ads for anti-aging products.
Exactly.
It's like we're bombarded with messages that tell us getting older is something to be ashamed of.
Exactly. And the video even goes a step further. And asks us to consider other cultures where aging is viewed differently. Like, there are societies where elders are revered for their wisdom and experience. It really makes you question those assumptions we have about getting older.
It definitely gives you a new perspective. So if we're going with Jung's idea that the second half of life is about shifting from ego to self, what does that actually look like in practice? What does it mean to really live from that authentic self?
Well, the video suggests it begins with being open to letting go of who we thought we were.
It's about questioning those old identities and patterns that might not be serving us anymore.
That sounds both exciting and a little intimidating. It's like setting off on an adventure without a map, isn't it?
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And the video acknowledges that this process can be challenging.
Of course.
It's natural to feel fear, uncertainty, even a sense of loss. As we let go of those familiar parts of ourselves. But it's in that space, that willingness to let go, that we can truly discover who we are beneath all those masks and expectations.
It's like peeling away layers.
I love that analogy. And as we peel away those layers, we might bump into some of those shadow aspects we talked about earlier. The video really emphasizes how important it is to face those parts of ourselves that we've been avoiding.
It's not about pretending those shadow parts don't exist.
Right.
But about acknowledging that they're part of us too.
Yeah.
Integrating them, not denying them.
Exactly. And the video makes a really compelling argument for why that's so crucial.
Yeah.
It suggests that when we deny those shadow aspects, they actually end up controlling us from our unconscious.
Wow.
They drive our behavior in ways we might not even realize.
So it's not just about self-awareness, but about taking back our power in a way.
Absolutely. By bringing those shadowy parts into the light. Of our consciousness.
Right.
We can start to understand them, work with them, and ultimately integrate them into a more whole and authentic version of ourselves.
So we're reclaiming our power.
Yeah.
And speaking of reclaiming something positive,
the
video also talks about reconnecting with our inner child.
Yes.
That sounds like a much more enjoyable
It really is.
part of this whole process.
It reminds us that life doesn't have to be all seriousness.
Right.
And responsibility. Rediscovering that childlike sense of play, that spontaneity and wonder can inject so much joy and meaning back into our lives.
It's almost like giving ourselves permission to loosen up a little.
Yeah.
To not be so grown up all the time.
Right.
And to tap back into that creative energy we had as kids.
Exactly. And the video even offers some practical suggestions for doing just that.
Right.
Things like rediscovering old hobbies, trying something new, allowing ourselves to be silly and spontaneous.
It's about making space for the things that light us up.
Yeah.
That bring us joy, even if they seem unproductive.
Right.
Or maybe even a little childish.
Because at the end of the day, what's the point of all this self-discovery and personal growth if we're not enjoying the journey?
So we've talked about letting go of old identities, facing our shadow selves, and reconnecting with our inner child.
Yeah.
It feels like Jung's view of the second half of life.
Yeah.
It's really about embracing authenticity, wouldn't you say?
You hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
The video makes it clear that this is a journey of becoming more fully ourselves.
Yeah.
It's about shedding the masks and expectations that no longer serve us.
But it's not a journey we have to take alone, is it?
No.
You're right. The video also touches on the importance of connection.
Yes.
Especially as we get older.
The video emphasizes that as we move through this process of individuation, we don't become isolated.
Right.
We actually become more capable of deeper, more genuine connection.
Right.
Because we're coming from a place of greater self-awareness and authenticity.
So the more whole we become as individuals, the better we are at connecting with others.
Exactly. It's a reminder that no matter what stage of life we're in, relationship, community, and connection are essential parts of fulfilling life.
And the video makes another interesting point about how the things that used to define us might not hold the same meaning as we get older.
That's such a core part of Jung's message.
Yeah.
As we transition into the second half of life.
Right.
There's a natural shift away from external markers of success, like wealth status or achievements. We start to look for something deeper, something more intrinsically fulfilling.
So it's not about giving up ambition or success altogether, but about redefining what those things mean to us personally.
The video suggests that true fulfillment comes from aligning with our own values. Pursuing what truly matters to us and finding peace within ourselves. It's no longer about chasing that external validation.
Like we finally have permission.
That's a great way to put it.
To write our own definition of success.
And that's such an empowering message, especially in a culture that often equates worth with achievement. This video reminds us that aging isn't about decline. But about stepping into a new level of wisdom, purpose, and fulfillment.
It's like we're finally free to break free from that old script
Yeah.
and write our own story.
That's a beautiful way to think about it. The video even uses the word renaissance to describe this stage of life. It's not about decline, but about rediscovering ourselves. Reinventing who we are and experiencing a sense of renewal.
So what can we, the listeners, take away from all this? How can we apply these ideas to our own life?
I think the biggest takeaway is to challenge ourselves to view aging differently. What if instead of fearing or resisting it, we started to embrace it as a time of incredible potential for growth and transformation?
So we're talking about a shift in mindset.
Yes.
From a place of scarcity where we're desperately clinging to youth to a place of abundance where we recognize the unique opportunities and gifts that come with each stage of life.
Exactly. And one of those gifts is the wisdom we gain through experience.
Oh, for sure.
We've lived, we've learned.
Right.
And yes, we've made mistakes along the way.
Yeah.
But those mistakes become invaluable lessons.
Of course.
That can guide us as we navigate this second half of life.
The video even suggests that this hard-earned wisdom allows us to let go of that need for external validation.
Yeah.
And to live more authentically. Like, we finally have the confidence to be ourselves.
Right.
Without worrying so much about what other people think.
And that kind of freedom is incredibly empowering.
Oh, yeah.
It allows us to focus on what truly matters.
Yeah.
To connect with others on a deeper level. And to make a meaningful contribution to the world around us.
It's not about chasing those accolades or achievements anymore.
Right.
It becomes about living a life that feels truly aligned with our values and our purpose.
And when we find that alignment, that sense of purpose, it can bring a deep and lasting sense of fulfillment that we may not have even been aware of in our young.
It sounds like we're finally coming home to ourselves.
Oh, what a perfect way to put it.
Well, as we wrap up this deep dive, I have one final question for you to think about.
Okay.
What aspect of yourself are you most excited to discover or rediscover in this second half of life? What new possibilities are opening up for you as you embrace this next chapter?
That's a wonderful question to reflect on. This journey of individuation, of self-discovery and personal growth is a lifelong process. It doesn't stop at a certain age.
Right.
It's a continuous invitation to keep exploring, keep evolving, and keep becoming more fully ourselves.
I think that's a great place to leave it.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining me for this deep dive, and I'll see you next time.